company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich buses today. Ipswich buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to an off-season Wednesday night show. It is, of course, the middle of May. The summer is here, but we've got a little bit of contract news to discuss. Players, should they stay, should they go? All of that sort of stuff. But the overriding question I've got for you guys and girls at home before we go to the live chat is obviously the season, not just for ourselves, is finished, but all around the footballing calendar is winding down. Of course, this evening we have the final involving Rangers. So what is your Saturday going to be looking like from this point on for the next 70-odd days? DIY, is it that long list? Let us know what you're going to be doing at the weekends from this point on across your summer. If you're travelling abroad, let us know. I know one of our contributors today has already been abroad to Disney World, Land, one of the two, somewhere involving Disney. You know, all that sort of stuff. And I'm not quite sure about the other one. I'll have to ask him when he comes in. As you saw at the top of the show there, our YouTube memberships or our Ko-Fi Patrons are available. Should you wish to support this platform, we are a fan platform for fans by fans. And hopefully, and I know we've got lots of new viewers after the Mark Ashton special. If you've not watched it, what you're doing with yourself, go and check it out. Over 5,000 of you already have done. But I truly believe we do have something for everybody on this platform. That's the wrong graphic. As you can see, we're always professional here as well. You know, we've always got the ducks lined up, ready to rock and roll. This is the graphic you want. Something for every ITFC fan, from Talking Town to the tickets, wherever it might be. And if you do get value from us, please do hit that subscribe button, first of all, the like button, and then think about supporting us through those ways. Or you can actually, this is new technology. This is well above my level, all right? There's a QR code there. You can scan that, and that will take you somewhere. I know. I don't even know what a QR code is. I know what a barcode is, but I don't know what a QR. But there it is. There it is. Check it out. Tell me what happens when you do it, if you do it, because as I say, QR codes. Whoosh. Lee Anderson, evening all, protecting our assets early, avoiding bids and unsettling players. Great to see. Harry Butcher, who has got a question on the show from Monday. We'll finish tonight's show with Nick and Harry's questions from Monday. He says, brilliant news to get Wolf in a longer deal. I truly think that he will play in the Premier League one day. Glowing there. Colin, I was about to text Colin. I've not heard from him for a while. I was getting worried about him. Colin, welcome in, my man. Hope you're well. Ben, Jeremy is here. Welcome in, Jeremy. EJ, Lee Brown, all here. Right, let's bring our first contributor in. The chap that's already been abroad. He's a big fan of one more year of this man. It's a beautiful turn, Ben. One more year. It's news we already know. It's news we've already discussed, but it's obviously been confirmed today. One more year of Sane or Sane Aluko.
Wonderful. That was the moment that the extension come through. I love that, man. Okay, as has been discussed, and I think people like Cruncher quite rightly say that the stats, you know, the system things don't quite look like a good player until you actually watch him, and the professionalism, the experience, the infectiousness, the enthusiasm. He's a gentleman. He makes all those players around him play their roles better. It's everything I want to see in a player, you know. And we've got some younger players. We've got players that are making their way through. We've got a few more contract extensions today, or contracts given to young players. You need your Sonny Aluko's in the squad. I can't speak highly enough about him. And even if he's not a starter next year, what a great squad man to have. I am ecstatic about that piece of news. Absolutely ecstatic.
Yep, I knew that from previous. You talk about, you know, you when you go and watch, you want to see players like Salah. Well, let's start with the season tickets before we bring our next contributor in. Over 15,000 season tickets have been sold already. I know you're somebody who's discussed that season ticket and the cost of that through the year. Rightly so, it is an expensive outlay.
Yeah,
but 15,000 people have already committed to a third-tier club that finished 11th. Just what is that about?
what does that tell you? We have no right by position to ask of that, but what it means is there's a collective that's buying into the vision. And I did get a bit downhearted towards the end of the season, you know, thinking, Jesus Christ, we're actually worse off for all the glitz and the glamour and the sparks, you know, star-spangled banners. We're bloody 11th, but then I watched that interview of Mark Ashton, and I want to be cross because I'm so used to being upset with owners and saying, why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? Is this going to work or not? I'm so used to it. But then I watch that interview and my heart swells. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad we've got great management. I love what this guy's doing. I love his enthusiasm. It's like, you know when you're going to go and break up from a girlfriend, right? You got all the reasons in your head why you're going to do it. You go over there. And then you just, you know, she looks beautiful. And you're like, oh, okay, we'll give it another chance. Oh, you're lovely. That's kind of what I feel about Mark Ashton. You know, it's like, oh, but by position, we've gotten worse. But then you listen to them, then you see them, and you think, oh, God, all right, here's my £400, you bastard. and happily paid again. So it's a reflection upon the trajectory rather than a reflection upon the position. And people buy into trajectories of things. If you see something moving forward, that's often enough to keep people. And, you know, my family have bought into it. You guys have bought into it. And so have 15,000 other people. So
yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal in England's third tier. Without once being in the playoffs, might I add to that. That truly shows the scope of the growth of the football club. Because, you know, you think about the Premier League, and we'll bring Lewis in a second, bring up the Premier League and what that could bring. If you've got 15,000 in the third tier, it only begs to stand to reason, really, that Premier League, a long way away, of course, but you can see why the new owners saw an opportunity that they couldn't really pass up here at the football club. Norman, we were worried about losing some of our better players. I'm less worried. And if we do, we would definitely get more money for them. Jeremy's glad to see Jackson's on a new deal. A YouTube member, Owen, follow his fantastic lead, getting loads, look, but not my lead in reading. Shocking. Getting lads signed up to improve deals in a way we haven't seen in 15 plus years.
That's a great point, Owen. That's a really good point. This is brand new territory for us. Straight away, straight in the window, make your foundations solid and then build the towers on top of it. And we're just laying those foundations now. We're solidifying what's good in order to build what's better. Good. And
in a new record, ladies and gentlemen, it has been 7 minutes and 36 seconds now of Talking Town's Wednesday show, and we've already had 2 analogies from the Milk Tray Man. He is in peak mid-season form. We love to see it. Right, joining us now, our second and final contributor of the 3-man team, the most vital part of the team. It's Lewis Robertson. Welcome in, Mr. Robertson. How are you? He's our Braveheart. We can't hear you.
Sound.
You're on mute, son.
Sorry, chaps.
There you go. You're speechless.
I'm still blown away. I was blown away by the entrance and what was obviously Rangers representing Scotland tonight as well. But I don't actually have a Scottish team. I've never really got behind Scottish.
There are none.
Because there are none. Although one is in a European Cup final as we speak. Although Matt Phillips wants us to also support Frankfurt. God knows why, but there we go. He does. I asked at the top of the show, Lewis, Saturdays without the football, the next 70-odd days, how's your Saturdays going to be looking from this point on?
Well, I've had a stroke of luck. So, unbeknown to me, last weekend, I was informed that our daughter had secured a place at the local swimming group on a Saturday morning. She had been going during the week whilst my wife was on maternity leave. She's had a couple of months gap without swimming. We've got a place now on a weekend morning. So I've offered to take my daughter swimming every weekend between now and the end of July to build up enough credit in the bank so that then I can kind of almost transition and over to you. So, and very much encouraging my other half to meet up with friends, go out with the girls, go shopping, and I'll spend time with our daughter, help around the house. It's all just building up credit in the bank, ready for a new season. And then I'm sure 2 weeks into the season, she'll go and book a a social date when we've got a home game, and then it'll all fall
That's
apart.
That's a definition of a negotiation. I love it.
Yeah, you see, we're all sat here playing tiddlywinks, Ben. This man here is playing 3D chess.
Yeah,
he is in the next dimension of the Matrix.
I'm looking ahead to next season, and we've got a lot to look forward to. So I don't want to be missing any games if I can help it, and nor should anybody else.
Good man. Well, we'll come to that now. Before we do, let's get a few more comments from our live chat. There is a link going to be coming in very soon. Should you wish to join us in our topics of discussion or bring anything new to the party, you know the drill by now. If you've been a regular here, if you're new here, you won't do, forgive me. But you just literally come on and say what you want to say about your football club, be it something we're talking about or something we've not mentioned once. It's up to you. It's your platform to have your say. Curtis, there straight in. Any news on a new sponsor? I thought Ed Sheeran had another year or so to go. I don't know that. I didn't think it was a 1 year deal. Might well be. Neither you two?
I thought it was another. I'm pretty sure it was another year. It was the end of next season that it finishes. I could be wrong though. I thought it was.
So Curtis, to answer your question, no news on the sponsor. So we are none the wiser. Lee Anderson, Cook messed up the players for the last 2 seasons. Andy Barrell. Wait until we announce signings 23,000 plus, I reckon. Stephen Parry, it's nice to see a new contract policy. Will help them around the team. Good seasons will be rewarded and possible signings. Craig at Portsmouth, welcome in. Hope you and the wife are well. If Aluko plays 15 games for Town next season, that's another season in League One. I want players that actually have an end result.
Not on that train. Sorry, Craig. No.
It's all right. We've done the Aluko debate. Jump back in a couple of weeks to see that. I ain't touching that one again. But we have got 2 players extending their deals. Let's start with Luke Wolfenden, the next Alejandro Nesta. 3-year contract extension. Lewis, talk to me, because Harry at the start of the show said Luke Wolfenden will play in the Premier League.
Don't know about that, but can certainly play in the Championship, and hopefully that'll be without.
Whoa.
Did I
mean, there's making a point, and there's making a point. I mean, we heard you the first time.
Did I just have a bang on the head, or did I hear that about 800 times? Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was my...
Refresh your page.
I wasn't sure if it was my computer. He can't have been doing it on purpose. That would have been like Eminem level of rap skills. I
don't think he's got a stutter. I'm pretty sure he hasn't. So it must be a technical...
We have just got ourselves a new Lewis intro for next season. I'm just writing down the minutes of that one, because that is his new intros. It's gonna be the Lewis rap. Well, Lewis, what you done to it? You've
the power of
broken
Christ
it.
compelled you.
Ben,
come off, refresh, come back on, come completely out, and then come back in on the link. That should do it.
I have never in the last 2 years had that once, and I've had it twice now, I guess. Ben, Luke Wolfenden, Harry Butcher, start the show. Going to plan the Premier League, sign a new 3-year extension. Talk to me about the Wolf.
For me, the best signing we will make and have made so far of anything we've done the contract negotiations. I'm not undervaluing what Wes Burn's done, because that man has been the most joyous player to watch in 6 or 7 years of Town. But for me, my player of the season was Wolfenden. You think where that guy has come from and where he is now. He is so consistent every single game he played. No mistakes, consistently playing alongside a shifting back forward or back 3 towards the end. I often felt that he was, when we were kind of seeing the praises of, Bon when he was scoring goals, or Jackson when he came back in, or Edmondson, or Burns, I always felt that nobody ever mentioned Wolfenden. And you need, in order to play the technical game we did and to allow players like Burns to do their thing, you need that solid man in the back. You need that person who's just consistent. That man for me has been phenomenal. And I agree with that supposition, that I think if he has 2 more seasons like he has, if he gets promoted next season and he does what he's doing, he will go in the Premier League. He's that good. And you think where he was. You think where he was a couple of seasons ago.
On the outside looking in.
He was so far from the outside, he wouldn't even know where in was. It was too far away. He was gone. So congratulations to him. For me, he's 1% behind Burns as my player of the season, if not joint player of the season. There's a big thing for consistency in League One, and he's been the example and the model for it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much on the outside looking in, start of the year. It's a little bit bittersweet when we look at the Wolverhampton situation, because it's everything. You wonder. I personally, and some fans won't be the same, but I do look at it and I think, what could have been with someone like Flynn Downs?
Yeah, I get that. I totally understand that, and I thought you might bring that up. Actually, I think it's very right that you do, because if Flynn would have come back in and shown that love and that kind of, you're going to be playing here for the next 6 or 7 games. Who knows? You know, we were.
I think McKenna would have made. I think McKenna would have made
Downs, spot on.
You know, a really good player.
Oh, imagine Flynn in front of Morsey. God, dear me.
Oh, it would have been good. Lewis, are you? Yes, I've not got any feedback. Are you there? You're on mute, Lewis. He's not having a great. There he is. No. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Lewis, come completely out of your application. Re-sign back in the link. And then come back in. You got to come completely out of it and come back in. Try that.
Let's go to Jeremy instead and see what he thinks of Luke Wolfenden. Jeremy, Luke Wolfenden,
Jeremy.
What do you think?
Great signing.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, well, you know, it's good to see a young player, as Stephen Parry was saying in the chat, Jeremy, you know, rewarded with a good season.
Oh yes.
You know, we think about was it this time last summer or something before? We had the issues with Wolfie and Lambert. You know, all that sort of stuff. It's come a long way, hasn't he? In a short amount of time.
This time last year, he was down to be kicked out the side.
He was already kicked out the side, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Well, you know, Toto Enciala, Jeremy, was the preferred option for a long period of time over Luke Wolfenden.
Don't get me wrong, I like Toto Enciala, but Wolfie's got
another level,
just a bit extra than Enciala.
I think he's consistent. What do you think? I think his Wolfenden's his thing. I mean, what do you say, Gav? Your best ability is availability. He's always
absolutely.
Fit. Never drops below a 7 out of 10, and I would rather a player have 46 games of 7 out of 10 than 25 games of 10 out of 10, like Selena. I like consistent, solid players in my League One teams. I mean, I agree. Yeah.
But not just that, though, is it, Jeremy? You know, the way Luke Wolfenden steps out of defence at a young age, the first season in a new system that he's not, 100% up to date with. Next year, I can't wait to see the Luke Wolfenden that plays week in, week out. When he gets that ball at his feet, there is nobody better.
I hope he goes on one of those runs he did against.
The marauding run. Was it Portsmouth? Was it? Who was it? I can't remember who it was.
Many times over the course of this season, many times it was becoming increasingly.
This one I actually saw. He picked the ball up in his own half and just went past several players.
Jeremy, before I try and bring Lewis back and let you go, when's the first signing going to be? Give me a date.
Go on, Jeremy. You got to know something. What have you heard?
Say 10th of June.
10th of June. All right. Love it. Jeremy, we appreciate you, buddy. Look after yourself. Lewis.
Be with Hart.
I
have never, ever had that. Let me try.
Be with Hart.
Okay. Last thing, different device. If you're using a phone or a laptop, use something else. Apart from that, I don't want to tell you.
No, me neither. No.
Can you send him a link that guests were coming on, and he can come in on that?
Yeah, I could do.
Stick it in the chat. It's a different way in. How strange.
Yeah, I could, but I've never. 2 years I've been doing this gig, and never once have I had that. Not once.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's got to be almost a StreamYard issue. Norman, was Webster that much better than Wolfie? He's in the Premier League.
Good question.
Yeah,
like
Wolfie has the classness factor. A certain Mr. Lambert could see that. Mike D, Wolf and Fridge in the Championship. We're lucky to have them.
Yeah,
Lee, Luke Wolfenden signs the new deal. You want to see a Edmondson Wolfie insert player back three, don't you?
Wolfie. Sorry, I couldn't resist it. I didn't. Well, I didn't say I wanted to see it. You could just see it. You could just.
What do you want to see?
With Donatian, he's undroppable at the moment, isn't he? From what he had last season, so he plays, and the reason I say that is that I was thinking about it today. That is it a 3-5-2? Is it a back four? Is it a back three? It's so versatile, and you hear when McKenna says it's not really about formations; it's about spaces on the pitch. Yeah. And the fact that we have somebody that technically plays a right centre back, who is getting to the byline every single game. I can't think of a game where he's not got in a crossing position. If anybody can show me a centre back of a right side or a left sided centre back that has done that consistently in League One, then I have not seen him, and I'd be amazed. I've never seen anything like that at Portman Road, and I think that's what gives us that extra dimension. So it's really difficult to see him coming out of the side. So it's a back three out of possession, but it's not a back three when we're in a possession. And to think that that we want to find a left-sided centre back to do the same thing as a Donatian, well, you're going to have to find a left back to do that because that's what it is. You have to accept that if Edmondson's playing there, or his name now, Burgess is playing there, you're not going to get the same thing. You're just not going to get it. It's almost like the same sort of thing when Southgate played Carl Walker as a right-sided back three. It's got that sort of feel to it. Obviously not at the same level, but it's got that sort of feel to it. And Donatian can defend as well. So that's really interesting. But just one point on the back five. We want to keep the back five apart from the left wing back, and we want to keep our centre backs. And you're talking about Monday night quite rightly, and how strong we are in that position. But where are the goals going to come from set pieces? One of our biggest failures this season has been scoring from set pieces. And where do those centre backs fit into scoring from that? Because a Donatian never looks like scoring from a set piece, just never does. You'd think Burgess would because of his height, because of the way he heads the ball away in defence. Wolfenden, you would expect maybe he doesn't attack the ball. We haven't got somebody who really attacks the ball in the air. And I think if we're keeping the same back five, are we going to have the same problems again with our set pieces? And that's just a little sort of concern.
But then I might kind of bring a bit of balance to that. And so I think you're absolutely correct, because you want your defenders, your centre backs doing that. They're big, strong guys. But also the complete and abject failure of our strikers this season. You've got strikers up there who should be scoring goals from set pieces. This is from a corner at least. So I judge my defenders on how they defend rather than when they score. I judge my strikers on when they strike rather than when they defend, although it's always nice to have a crossover. So for me, that responsibility comes on the correct acquisition of strikers rather than defenders. Although, don't get me wrong, I take your point. It would be lovely to see, because there's no reason why someone who's 6'3" can't get on the end of at least 3 corners a season. So I hear that.
I would say, sorry, Lee, to answer your question there. I think all three, but particularly Edmondson, Burgess, Wolfenden, are very capable of scoring from set pieces and have that ability. You're right about Donatian. Throughout his whole time, I don't think I've ever looked at him and thought he's a colossus in the air. A colossus in on the ground and can win many tackles one-on-one, but in the air, possibly not. I would just say, haven't seen enough quality balls into the box to say, we're missing something there. I mean, if we had game after game where we were delivering literally the ball on a platter and they were missing the opportunity, I'd go with your train of thought there. But last year they were feeding off worse than scraps. Let's be honest. The balls in the box were shin height most of the time. It was terrible, wasn't it? Really?
It wasn't consistent. No, it wasn't consistent. But I'm not sure when you if you look back at many clubs, whether or not you'll have the same feel. I don't know. And I think McKenna certainly tried to change it, didn't he? He tried to start playing short corners rather than lumping the ball in, because he's lumping the ball in knowing the goals come to assist, knowing that the ball's just not going to do anything. So you're trying to do something different. But with players that we had like Selena and Chaplin and things like that, then there's no excuse. There's no excuse for not putting more consistent balls into the box. I get that, but
you look at the stats
we just
at the top. Sorry, go on.
God, we just didn't. But watching, watching the games at home, particularly from behind the goal where I sit and above, we just never seemed to have that movement, and the defenders didn't. The opposition didn't have to do a lot to a defender. They just smothered the 6-yard box, and between the goal line and the penalty spot, they didn't really do a lot of move. We didn't have a lot of movement, and we just, again, you got to get the balls in the right area. But even when it was put in there, we never really looked like ever getting on the end of it. I don't think.
Absolutely. No. Well, no, we didn't. We didn't, and that's something that we maybe have to get better. We definitely have to
look at the stats of the strikers in the top 4 teams. Every single one of them scored from at least 6 set pieces. Every single one of them.
But I think the problem we have there, going back to your point on the set pieces, Ben, is that yes, the strikers need to do more from set pieces, but generally we're only going to have one striker on the pitch. So you've got to have your taller players and to attack the ball, and they are generally going to be the centre backs. So I don't know where that goes. I mean, hopefully our striker that comes in is going to be somebody that's more of a is a real aerial threat.
We all thought that would be Piggott until obviously the wheels come off his season a bit. But what he done last season, his height, I do think his hold-up play is actually better than, well, probably the only good aspect of his play. But that's the type of strike you want. You're always that kind of Darren Murphy, the little and large maybe player, but no one's really stepped up for it. It's 6-1.5 does it, the other, isn't it? I just prefer my strikers to be doing it, just because that's what all the promoted teams have done. It would be nice to have your centre back sticking in 3 or 4 goals per season from a couple of cheeky corners. I mean, that's how you win games. That's how you get runs together. So I take your point.
Right, couple of comments. We've got Mike D, Wolf and Fridge in the championship. We're lucky to have them. Lee Brown's not sure, Ben, how you say he was player of the year. This is Wolf and Dunn. Only played half the season. Just my opinion, but glad he has signed a new contract. Ollie, Donna is amazing. Donatian's amazing. He can't be dropped. Him and Burns bring out the best in each other. Darren's we need a modern day Mark Venus, says Owen. Good evening, Callie. Hope you're well. Darren, great to see players signing new deals. Has Selena done enough to come back, or do we look elsewhere? We will mention him a bit later on, Darren. I think that's a great chance to mention him. Struggles are a top priority, all waiting to see who will come in. Mike D is not happy about three at the back. It's like some Morecambe at home. Not for me. We need to adapt depending on the side. Lewis. Oh, okay. Are you there?
Hello.
Yay! He's back. Welcome back.
He's back.
Welcome back. We've missed you, although we are glad you're not rapping now.
I'm really paranoid now.
As enjoyable as it was. It's always the first time, so well done on being the first to ever do that on the platform.
Do you know what? I logged out, logged back in, tried different things, ran into a different room. Hopefully it holds out.
Turn on again. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Ben mentioned Piggott, so let's jump now to the other piece of news today. Caden Jackson, it's the contract extension. What are your thoughts? I'll ask you individually what your thoughts on that. Ben, I'll come to you last because you look the most upset, so that's an interesting point. Lewis, as you're yet to speak, what do you think about Caden Jackson signing a new deal?
Look, I mean, if we go back to January, February time, and he came into the team, I was underwhelmed. I thought his time was done. If you remember, last summer we triggered his extension, I think pretty much with a view to selling him on. Yeah, it never materialised, and he was just hanging about. I would say, and McKenna said, give people a fresh, clean slate to see what they can do. And Jackson performed relatively well at certain things. We know his limitations. We know what he can do, what he can't do. But there's something there, and there's some sort of relationship between him and McKenna where he obviously looks up to McKenna. McKenna feels there's something he can get the best out of him. He's got pace and direct running. I think sometimes his decision-making lets him down. But his goal and assist return in the, 10 appearances he made, I think he got 3 goals, 3 assists. That's not bad. Now, Do I expect him or want him to be first, even second choice striker next season? The answer would probably be no, and I'd say that those players aren't yet in the building. But how many clubs in League One could have a player with the attributes of Jackson as third, possibly fourth choice striker? So I didn't think he was going to sign. I thought that once the season had ended and he'd gone off on his holiday, as he saw on Instagram, I thought that was it. And I thought both him and the club would move on. But he signed, and he signed a 2-year deal, and the ball's very much in his court now. And, you know, McKenna's put a lot of faith in him. And it's now down to him to do his talking on the pitch and repay that. And to be fair to him, when he came into the side in January, February time before his injury, he did. So never been his biggest fan. I think he has made rash, poor decisions. I think he got a couple of red cards in the previous 2 seasons, didn't he?
Sunderland at home stands out. Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, I mean, McKenna said give everyone a clean slate. I'm prepared to give Caden Jackson a clean slate, but do I think he'll be first choice? Absolutely not.
Okay. Ben, not first choice. Caden Jackson says he's loved every down to the new boss. You weren't happy, so I'll come to you now, and then Lee can sort of round it up or give us his thoughts on KJ. What are you saying, Ben? Because you were shaking your head. You're not happy.
It's my only, I'd probably say, controversial opinion, because the mood does seem to be all over the socials that it's a good thing, but I just can't see it. I've made the point before that Piggott scored more goals last season than Jackson scored since 2016. Bond scored more goals this season than Jackson's going to score in the next 3. And all these players, everyone's happy to get shot of. In my opinion, Jackson owes us. I cannot get away from that. There's a reason he wasn't playing for ages. There's a reason no one wanted him. Now he did come back in, and he got 3 goals and 3 assists. But I feel, and this is a total opinion, and I'm so happy to be proven wrong that be the case. I'm wondering if he's going to get Norwooditis, which is he has flashes of it and then disappears for 12 games or gets injured or sent off. I just don't think if he was the kind of striker you want to get promoted out of League One, we would have seen it by now. And we just haven't. And even his supporters, I know a lot of people in my life who aren't supporters. When I say, are you happy about this? They're like, well, you've got to look at it like this. It's not brilliant news. Now, all I can say is I'm going to put my faith in McKenna. Everything McKenna's done so far, I've been happy with. And I have to put my faith that this will be another good decision by him. If he's obviously seeing something that I am not. Just don't expect too much from Jackson this season. I think there'll be a lot of disappointed people out there. And it's one place that could have been filled by someone who's better. And feel free to eviscerate me for it. But if he was that good, you'd have seen it by now.
Okay, and still, I can take or leave KJ, to be honest. Lee, is this the start? You know, there's this huge thing on social media now, ITK. Oh, start of the ITK season, right? Oh, I'm in the know and I know this. As fans, real fans that, you know, don't claim to be ITK, you can only look for crumbs that you see in the media, the players you bring in, the players you don't bring in. Is this the start of things to expect as a Town fan in terms of how we profile our strikers? Caden Jackson is pace. He's all about pace. So do we expect to see another pacey striker brought in to compete with him? And that's our profile for our strikers. Pace. That's all we want them to have or need or primarily have, because they're going to stretch the opposition. Is it going to be KJ's our pacey player? We're going to say, I don't know, Connor Wickham, who's been let go today, who's a stronger player, a complementary depth chart, if you like, of strikers. How do you see it? Is this the start of the profile or a piece of that jigsaw? How are you seeing those strikers? Because he's not the only one to be coming in.
No, I think McKenna is looking for a certain type of striker. I think it's just. I don't think it's just pace. I think he needs to think about having an aerial threat as well. Now, strikers are a fine line, aren't they? And it's a fine line between whether or not you're liked by the manager or you're not. We've talked about Wolford earlier on, and under a different manager, he's a different player than he was with the previous one. And you could say the same about Caden Jackson. The thing is with McKenna, and this is where I don't sort of agree with what Ben was saying to a point, is that it could be underwhelming because we're basing on his last time at the club. But who has truly played him all the time to his strengths? When has he been played to his strengths? Now, McKenna's come in. He's seen something in Jackson that he likes, and he's used Jackson in the right games tactically to help the club or the team on that particular day. He's not been all the time, and you know, we was talking to Fisherman earlier on Twitter and stuff, and he was talking about him playing left side of three. I don't think we've ever played a three under McKenna. So the point is, I was at MK Dons, and when that team came out, we all stood there. I think I was with Cruncher, and it was like, wow, what's happening? Caden Jackson up front, and we had that sort of how you felt, Ben. Actually, is what's going on here, but you could see what McKenna was trying to use Jackson for, and Jackson was being used to his strengths. And I think we've said it on here before, you know, going back last year and stuff about Jackson, about saying that it's time for him to move on. It was time for him to move on primarily because he wasn't being used to his strengths. He was either being put on the right because he needed to fill a position, which is fair enough. You know, he's getting criticised for playing on the right side of a front three when it's not his natural position, but he should be commended for trying to do a job for the team because that's what he's been asked to do. But now under McKenna, if McKenna's going to play him, he's playing him for a specific reason. I don't think we're in the club now. I don't think it's going to be now where who's the best striker. I think we're going to have good strikers that will all complement the way the team wants to play on a given day. And I think we've seen that in this half of the season. So I'm hoping that who comes in will be someone, and I said about this, but said before, someone of the similar sort of mould to the way Ivan Toney plays, how he played for Peterborough in League One. He was quick in behind, and he could head the ball as well. He was good in the air, and I think we need a bit of an all-rounder, because I think Jackson's limitations are meeting crosses and heading the ball. So I think we need that sort of high. I think there'll be hybrid strikers, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think it's. Sorry, Lee. Sorry. No, carry on.
No.
I was just thinking we're third tier. It's important to think we're not going to ever see that complete player just yet at this level of play. You know, you're going to have players that have.
How many games has Jackson played for us since he signed from Aki?
I can find that out. While I do, Lewis, I want to sort of touch on something that you can't see in a stat chart, but something that is quite evident, and that is just how much of a good guy evidently Caden Jackson truly is, because this is the player that was firmly frozen out at this football club, was not wanted, as Ben said, was extended just to sell, didn't go, but kept his head down, nose clean, worked hard, nothing on the socials, no moaning, no griping, just did his job, and then took the opportunity when it came back to him and when it eventually did. We talk about Sonny Aluko earlier in the show. Just how important is it having guys like Caden Jackson that set that culture, that set that standard of do your job?
Yeah, I think it's really important, and I think it's something that's running throughout the club. I attended the end of season supporters player awards thing after the final home game, and got an opportunity to mix with some of the players. And you know, whilst there was children queuing up for photographs and to get their shirts signed, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I did with one player. I got him to sign my shirt. I'm sure some of you might be able to guess who that was.
Matt Penny.
But no, the thing that stood out for me was just wandering around for 15, 20 minutes with Cruncher and the Goat and Callie, actually talking to them. They're actually a really decent bunch of guys. You know, I know it's easy to say it's a PR exercise because it's mingling with the fans, but, you know, just having general chit-chat about the season gone and their summer holidays and things like that, they all came across as genuinely decent guys that get on well, and you want them to succeed. And I think Caden Jackson's proven that he can fit in with that ethos, amongst others. You know, we talked about Janoy Donasian throughout last season. He kept his head down in similar circumstances. Luke Wolfenden's another one. So what we have is good guys, and I think as supporters we can get behind that, and it almost makes us want them to succeed more than ever. Because, you know, if you go back to certain players who would go for benders in Newcastle and turn up 3 days late for training and God knows what, you know, there was, and look, I use that as an example, a bit of a throwaway comment, but as supporters, can you genuinely relate to those people who are wearing your shirt and representing your club? I'm not saying that they necessarily have to be supporters of our club. They're never going to feel about the club quite in the same way as we do, but actually being decent blokes. And I think for Caden Jackson and anybody else, and I think of one particular young player who doesn't look like he's going to have a future, but there was an announcement today on him. Yeah. And I'm not putting the blame on him at all, but I've seen social media posts from him that I haven't seen from Caden Jackson. And I think that some of the younger players can learn from that, because it's easy to take to social media. Look, I work with children and young people in my career, in my day job, and I spend half my time dealing with issues on social media with posts that have got out of hand. And for a young player, that could be really detrimental to their career. But as you say, with Caden Jackson, some of the other players, they kept their head down, they got their rewards. And as I say, Caden Jackson's got an opportunity next season. The team that started last season was not the team that finished, and players evolve and grow in as the season develops. Janoy Danassian, August, September, we never thought that he'd be in the running for Player of the Year, but he worked hard and he deserved to be in the reckoning. Who knows with Caden Jackson? He could hit the ground running. The one thing I would say, the best spell of Caden Jackson at Ipswich Town was the first half of the 2019-2020 season, when he was playing up alongside James Norwood. He scored a number of goals, didn't he? And I saw flashes of that when he came back into the side last season. So I think he's at a bit of a crossroads. I think he's got his contract, fair enough. It's over to him now, isn't it, to back it up? Because I
would agree with that. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're right. You're talking about his character and that kind of having that chance. And is he going to do a Wolfenden or a Danassian or not? And look, it will be the happiest day of my life if he scores 20 goals and Ramsey's words right down my throat, because it means the team's doing well. I just think that I just cannot shake the feeling that I see a lot of comments going, oh, we're seeing flashes of what he's capable of. He's been here for 120 games. I don't want to see flashes. We want to get promoted to the Championship. Flashes, what should have happened 3 years ago for me? I can't shake it. I wish I could. I want to go along. I want to jump on the train. I'm
not saying play Caden Jackson at home to Cambridge or at home to Cheltenham, where they're going to get 10 men behind the ball. That's not playing to Caden Jackson's strengths. As Lee said, going to MK Dons away, where they were going to have a lot of possession, or Bolton away, that's the sort of game for Caden Jackson. And yes, the stats might not back it up. He could play in those away games and he may only get a handful of goals or a couple of assists, but it's the other parts of that game that might let in other players. And ultimately, if we as Ipswich Town Football Club go away to Bolton next season and win, I think we'd all probably agree that's going to be a decent result, because I think Bolton will challenge next year. And if Caden Jackson contributes to that, but say, for example, the other striker gets the goals, actually, as supporters, we can go away and go, do you know what? He was a 7 or 8 out of 10, but actually he's not going to grab the headlines. Like I say, I wouldn't play him against Morecambe at home, Cheltenham at home, those teams that are going to come and camp behind the ball, because there's not going to be the space in behind for him to exploit. So again, it comes back to horses for courses. And we're fortunate as a club that we will be able to call upon, decent players at League One level, depending on the challenge ahead of us. And McKenna's already said he will pick sides depending on who the opposition is.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, Lee, are we seeing the transition? Because what Ben's saying there is fairly accurate and correct. Caden Jackson, as the man leading your team, has not set the world alight. Paul Hurst brought him in to be that man. He did it briefly for Lambo, but hasn't done it at a consistent level for any of the managers that have been here. Are we seeing the transition from KJ being the man to KJ being a part of the puzzle, but not what the puzzle's all about, if that makes sense to you? He's not. Do you think I think we'll see another striker arrive. Something I think we've not made enough of in this division is a striker off the bench with pace, a player that's enough be on the last shoulder of a no disrespect, a lumbering, slow centre half. We haven't done that. I think KJ will do that. I think we're now transitioning to him being a squad player, not the man. Is that what you feel as well, Lee?
I think he's been a squad player since the first half of, or the first season he was here. I think he's been a squad player. I don't think he's been used correctly. But I agree. He's got his limitations, and it goes back to the point what Lewis was just saying about, you wouldn't play him in certain games. And I think that's why we need this hybrid striker. We need somebody who's going to be able to do both roles to a certain standard, because you need a bit of continuity with your strikers. Stupid dog. You need.
I was listening to you, and not looking at you. That very
yeah.
I thought it was me again.
A striker, a player needs to play all the time. And my only sort of worry is that if we've got three strikers that are slightly different, and one week you're playing one, and then he gets a run of 2 games, then we're going to play at home for 2 games, and we're going to play Morecambe and so who's going to park the bus. We've got to change the striker. Then where does your 20 goal a season striker come from? You don't get him because he's not playing enough games. So I don't see Caden Jackson as the main man. I don't, because of what Lewis was saying about needing, when when teams are parking the bus and such like. I might stand to be corrected. We'll see, but I think there'll be another striker come in that will be seen as more of an all-round striker. That's what I hope. Now whether the goals, it's not just about one striker scoring 20 goals a season isn't going to get you promoted. No, because you've got to score 60, 70, 80 goals. So it's got to be everybody. So the goals have got to come from everywhere else as well. So it's got to be a hybrid for me. It's got to be someone that's going to come in. So to answer the question, Jackson is going to be a player, but I wouldn't see him starting every week. I want to see a striker that can run in behind, can head the ball, can hold the ball up. And that's
I think some of that comes down to McKenna's management.
Oh, hang on, what's that noise? Is that you, Lee?
It's a car in the background. Some 18-year-old has saved up enough money to stick a ridiculous exhaust on the back of his 1-litre Fiesta. All flash, no cash.
It's summer. You really do. Lee, before I let you go, you keep mentioning the word hybrid striker. If this was a car dealership and you were picking the parts you wanted, what is your key 3 for a hybrid striker? What particularly are you looking for when you keep saying, we need a hybrid? I'm thinking of a Toyota Prius. Do you know what I mean? Like every time you say it, I'm seeing 4 wheels.
So you need pace in behind.
Yep.
Well, I say pace. Movement. I'm going to change that to movement.
So
it doesn't have to be pace
or pace. Is it
movement? Movement is one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Aerial threat and bring others into play. They're the 3 things, because you don't have to have. I think sometimes we look at pace and you see strikers and they've got blistering pace and you want that in behind. But I've seen strikers at Portman Road that have been not necessarily pace, but they've been clever with their movement. They've been able to get the wrong side of the defender, and it's an art. Sheer pace. And I think with the way that we see teams set up against us at home when we play at home, we need that type of striker. We don't need the pace in behind. We need somebody who knows their craft. They know how to pick up the spaces, and I think that's why Chaplin has scored a few goals at Portman Road, because he knows how to pick those spaces up. So they're the 3 things for me.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, movement. A bit like Kevin Phillips used to be. He was never the quickest, but his movement was just amazing that he would lose a defender every which way. Lee, it's been great talking to you again. Look after yourself, my
guys.
Get a few comments. We've got Colin coming in. What I'll do, we'll get Colin in a second. I'll ask him his thoughts on Wolfie, on Jackson. Sum it up in a sentence or 2 for us, Colin, and then we'll tackle a couple of players that were on the outside looking in under McKenna, and we'll get our thoughts on. Let me look at the list and just pull 3 up. Kane Vincent-Young, Idris El Mizuni, and Armando Dobra. Those are the 3 we'll discuss this evening in just a second. Get a few comments based on KJ first. Norman, for most of the games he's played for Town, KJ was played out of position or not to his strengths. We need to give him a fresh start. Kev Sherwood, in the Championship, he scored 3 goals in 36 games. I think a 3-year deal was to get a decent salon if he managed to get promoted. Jeremy, is Pickett better than Jackson? Well, Ben certainly thinks Pickett is up there in that conversation for sure. Darren Salter, Carl Edwards, will McKenna mould him into a good left-sided player?
Good question. Good question.
You feel if anybody can, McKenna can, right? Like, this is your best opportunity as a player to develop, I believe. If you are a young player at this football club, like, you truly are at the feet of somebody who is proving. Look at Wolfenden, for crying out loud. He's not just come in and played well. He's come in and played exceptionally well and grown and developed into a better player. Colin, welcome in. How are you?
Good. Yeah, well, not too bad. I've had a few little issues lately, but with my neck.
We've missed you. We've missed you.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, hope you're okay, Colin.
Good. Yeah, good evening to everybody. To answer your questions, Gov, that you asked me about Caden and Wolfenden. Caden, you know, was I overwhelmed about it? I'm going to have to be honest and say perhaps not. But like I tried to say in the chat a little while ago, anybody who pulls the royal blue shirt on, I will support. Whether that be Caden Jackson, Piggott, or whoever, you know. People can say what they like about me with Piggott, but I supported that bloke every time he pulled that shirt on. And I do that with every other player. And I think we're now, look, this is not the pro Mark Ashton show, you know what I mean? Me trying to support Mark Ashton. But we have all got to believe, we've all got to be together. Look, this is a close season now. We've got the pre-season coming up. We've got another new season coming up. We've got to be all together. And that, by what I mean by that is Caden Jackson, whether it be Wolfenden, whether it be Sonny Aluko, whether it be anybody at all who is signed on for Ipswich Town Football Club, we support them and we support them 100% all the way through this season, which I know we will do, and that will get us to where we want to be. If we start dissing players right from the word go, like, oh, he ain't good enough, he ain't good enough, he's good enough, he ain't good enough, that's not going to get us anywhere. We need to support the shirt and the player who's in that shirt. And that goes with me, for Jackson. Believe you me, every time he pulls that shirt on, I will support him 100%. And he can take that from me. Okay?
I think you're spot on. Spot on. And I think it's important to separate those two and say, when you're at Portman Road and the terraces, you're supporting him. The moment you leave those terraces and the game is over, so sort of these platforms, these ways of talking about the football club, that's when you can say things like, I don't think he's perhaps good enough at the moment. I don't think he's playing well. Not just Caden Jackson. This is about any player, because you have to have that honest and candid conversations as well, Colin.
Yeah, no, I absolutely totally agree with that. What I was trying to allude to, Gov, was when we're in the ground.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, we've been beside the statue when the team lineups come out, and we've gone, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But then we've gone in there, and that player, whoever that will be, has had a decent game. We've come back to the statue, and we've thought, bloody hell, he's had a good game, you know, and that's what we want. But going back to what you were saying about the players who've signed, Wolfie, I mean, Rich sent me a WhatsApp this afternoon saying about Wolfie. I went straight on it. Absolutely over the moon about that. And Lewis was 100% right about when we was walking around talking to the players. I mean, as Gov and everybody else knows, I have quite a few chats with Wolfie through the window, and Wolfie, I think, you know, appreciates that. And I went and had a chat with him on the training ground, and I just said to him, I said, you know, just keep it going, Wolfie. You're going to be a top class centre half. I actually said it to him. I said, I've seen some of the best centre halves in the country at this football club, and if you could continue to play like you have been, he look. Somebody put in the chat a little while ago, I can't remember who it was there, that Wolfie could go on and play in the Premier League. I would not disagree with that whatsoever. Look, you know, if he keeps his feet on the ground, which I know he will do because he's so laid back, he's nearly horizontal, which is a fantastic trait anyway.
Absolutely.
I personally think he can and probably will play in the Premier League, and let's just hope it's with Ipswich Town Football Club.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Rangers are a goal up, just to let those know that are not watching the game. Just before Jeremy logs out, he is doing a barbecue on the 2nd of June. If you wish to come, a small fee of £5 for adults and £3 for children. Let Jeremy know. Facebook, Twitter, I think you can find Jeremy. Right, those players. Let's have a conversation. I'll come to you first, Ben, on Kane Vincent-Young. What's the future like for Kane? Is he going to be here next year? Should he be here next year? Is there a player there still? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a player there still. I know he lost a yard of pace after his injury. I like Kane Vincent-Young. Maybe I'm a bit tainted by those first few games he came in from Colchester. I just thought, holy shit, who have we got here? And although I think that injury didn't do him any favours, I like his attitude. I think he's got a very good footballing brain, if not perhaps an end product, but a few of our good players are guilty of that. I think there is a future for Kane Vincent-Young. I don't think it's, maybe I'll put him in the same category as Ian Jackson, that maybe utility player as and when is needed, who would be quite consistent, I think. But he showed me enough with a very good footballing brain. As far as you look at him off the ball and his positioning, he's actually quite clever. He has lost that speed, which was his ace in the hole. But there is a place for him here. And I think if he can have a good sort of 15, 18 games next season where he fills in for an injury or has a good little run, 100% keep him, 100%.
Is he the type of player, Lewis, that you can build a squad around, in the sense of not as a first team player, I'll just clarify that, but somebody who can play left wing back, right wing back, can play on multiple positions at a 6 or 7 out of 10 rate, and that allows you flexibility to go and look at other areas of your team that needs improvement, because you know you've got that cover in the one man.
Yeah, and I agree with what Ben said. You know, go back 2-3 years ago when he first signed before his injury, he was electric. You know, I think back to that goal he got against Tranmere when he ran from the halfway line and cut inside and bent in the corner of his left foot. You know, injury has taken its toll. I'm a little bit of a crossroads with him, and this is no reflection on him as a person or him as a football player. But he came as a young, dynamic wing-back. Injury's taken its toll, and he's 3 years older. So if he is a part of the squad next year, have absolutely no problem with that. And I absolutely think, as you say, 6 or 7 out of 10, reliable, wouldn't have a problem with him playing. But I think for Kane Vincent-Young, I think if the opportunity came up for him to go and play as a first choice, if his body is up to it, I'd wish him well and be happy for it, because I think that boy needs to go away. Well, not go away, but that boy needs to play football. I think he's missed so much of his career through injury. So, like I say, please don't take that as any reflection on Kane Vincent-Young, the player, or Kane Vincent-Young, the person. I actually think it would possibly be in his best interest if an opportunity came up. I absolutely think he could do a job at League One level. If you think about Teddy Bishop, he went to Lincoln. He'd had a history of injury. He needed to go and play football. He's played quite a few games last season. You know, Kane Vincent-Young could do a job at a League One club as a starter. I don't think he will get the games here, but, you know, it's talking about that strength in depth. And if, you know, if a player's out and we call upon KVY, I'm certainly not going to be concerned. I think he can do a job, but I do think injury's taken its toll.
Sadly so. Mike D, KVY, good option on either side, good player. Norman, KVY is a good squad player and cover for Burns. Dobrin is only not good enough where we're heading. Darren, KVY looking very bleak. Struggles to get a consistent run via team selection or injury. Lee, KVY not first choice, but has potential to keep the shirt when he gets the opportunity. Craig at Portsmouth, always liked Kane. Maybe just needs a run of games to really get going. Yeah, that was probably the biggest disappointment, Ben, in that he didn't get a run of games at that left-sided position when it was a revolving door. I know Lewis going to say, you know, the Penny Meister should have played, but you had Penny, you had Thompson, but KVY just wasn't given that opportunity. So maybe not seen as a left-sided player.
I think he's kind of going through that period of who am I at the moment, and what you said, Lewis, is quite right. He came in as something, the young, dynamic, quick footballer who's going to steam past players, almost like a kind of a sort of further back Wes Burns, if you were. But since he can't do that anymore through, situations not in his control, I think my question is who is he? Like, what actually is he now? Before I kind of think about where he fits in with the team. But from what I do see, with that losing that pace, which again was that's his thing. Finding yourself after your identity has been changed is a really tough thing. I think I'm still trying to find it myself. I think what keeps my faith in him is the attitude. He's got a good attitude, and I don't know. I think if you get 15 to 18 good games of him at a 7 out of 10, that's a great freaking utility player.
Absolutely.
We would buy a player if that's what the guarantee was, and I think we can get that out of him.
Okay, we've got Jordan Casdale coming on just a second. Before I bring Jordan in, Colin, I'll ask you one before I let you go. You mentioned a second ago about when we're at the statue and the team news comes in and, this, that and the other. Well, one of those players this year was Idris El Mizuni. He came in for his debut. Everyone was a bit, How did you see him this year? Do you think we should keep him around the squad, look to loan him out, get him playing regularly? Or do you think actually maybe like someone like Mark Tuxford would say he's not good enough, he's not going to be good enough, he needs to move on for his own career?
I've got to say, Gov, I think now, and I'm obviously prejudging here to the players or hopefully the quality or the kind of players we're going to be near. I would say right now, just using my own brain, what I think we'll probably bring in, it might be to his benefit and maybe our benefit as well, if he is loaned out now, I think for a period of time. Whether Idris and I hate to say this, I really do, whether he's got a future at the club, I'm to use Lewis's phrase, I'm at a bit of a crossroads with that as well. I'm not so sure. Look, technically, I like him. He's not done any harm whatsoever in my eyes when he's played and performed for the club. He's not had that many chances, to be fair to him. But on the odd occasion he has played, he hasn't really let himself down. But I just think we're going down a different motorway here now, and I think we're going to be possibly, going into a different gear, and hopefully, that will lead us back into the Championship where we belong. And if is Idris, in my opinion, good enough to play in the Championship? I'm not really sure about that either.
Where would you loan him out to, Colin? What level are you looking to get him a League One club? Do you think he's good enough for a League One loan?
I would say he's good enough to, kind of like Backens. No, sorry, not Battinson. Who did we loan out to? I can't think of his name. But who did we loan out?
Yeah.
Who did we loan out to Crewe?
Harper.
Yeah, a bit like Harper. I think. Sorry about that. I think. A loan to, obviously Crewe have gone down, haven't they? But a kind of loan like that to somebody like, maybe a Northampton or something like that if they came up, or that kind of side. I'm not so sure about going to like a mid table like Division 1 side. I'm not sure, but I'm sure he could play okay at the top end of the Division 2, I think.
Perfect. Colin, we love you. We're good to see you back on the platform. Look after yourself, man.
Look after yourself, Colin.
Take care of me. Bye-bye. Thank you, Lewis. Bye-bye.
All the best, boy. Jordan, welcome in. How are you?
Hello. Thank you ever so much for having me on for the first time. How's it going, everyone?
It's a pleasure. Nice to see you on the show. We see you on a match day, obviously. Always see you on the statue. First of all, how's the summer treating you so far?
Oh, not too bad. I was obviously working, so yeah, just enjoying the weather while we can. Shame we're not on a match day.
I love that wall behind you. That's great.
Yeah, oh, cheers, mate. Yeah, this is my office, you see, so I work from home. So you got to have something to look at, you know.
Yeah, too right, too right.
Absolutely. Now, you heard Colin there say he would loan Idris out. What would you do with Idris? Obviously, signed a new deal halfway through last season, but we saw with Bailey Clements, Paul Cook thought he was good enough to start.
Yeah,
this regime have now released him. No 1 year option of a chance to prove himself. He's gone. So doesn't necessarily mean Idris is safe with the extension. How do you see it with Idris?
I mean, I think it all depends on what's happening with Backinson, really, as well. You know, I mean, obviously Morsey's, that place is his, you know, but you know, is Evans, when he comes back, is he guaranteed to get back in the squad? You know, are we gonna get Backinson? You know, before the last game of the season, I wasn't really that keen on him, but then that goal, what a way to sort of say, come on, sign me up. You know, that's how I look at it. You give a player who's on loan a last chance to play for us and show us what he's worth. He did do that in that game. Obviously, McKenna's got his plans, and I'm so excited to see what those plans could be. You know, I gutted Norwood has gone after his little comeback. I did want. I know that comeback didn't last that long. I know, but I love that attitude of him. You know, that passion he's got for the club. That is what I missed from seeing. You don't see that often at this club, do you? No. You know, the frustration that the players give. I know that's not always a good thing, but yeah. Back to Elmiz though. I think a loan out. I mean, I wouldn't like to see him go. We've got rid of too many young players too soon. For what we're going to get for him, a few $100,000, not worth it. Let's keep him on the books for what, 2 years? Even if we loan him out for 2 years, keep him on the books, get him regular games, or keep him here and give him opportunities, you know. But he can't sit on the bench every game and then sit in the reserves. That's not gonna. It's gonna ruin his career, and it's gonna stop him from doing higher things.
Do you not think though that maybe Humphreys has bypassed him? Because if you think about that last game of the season, McKenna turned to the bench. It was a nothing game. We were cruising.
Yeah.
He gave Humphreys a run out.
Yeah.
And El Mazzuni sat on the bench. And he didn't bring him into any of the games before that. So it's almost a case of where does he sit? Because as you rightly say, we've got Morsey, Evans. We're talking about signing another central midfielder potentially. Backinson is a possible option. You then got Humphreys. Yeah. I know it sounds similar to what I said about KV White, but probably even more so with Elmiz. I think he can do a job lower half League One, upper end League Two. I think it might be time just to allow him to go and get games and accept that it's possibly not going to work here. Because I think Cruncher mentioned it over the weekend on the show. He's not 19, 20 anymore. No. He is now 21, 22. And there are players out there that are going on and forging careers. And there's almost that risk of we keep him, he plays the EFL Cup games again, the odd sub appearance, and that's another year of his career done. And I think with a lot of these players, Kenlock was a perfect example. Kenlock would come into the team and for 1, 2, maybe 3 games, he played really well. Bailey Clements did it last year. Came in, had a good game. But playing at that level for 1, 2, 3 games is not the same as consistently performing. They're good football players, but can they do it consistently at that level? And we haven't had the opportunity to see that with Elmiz. And I kind of think that maybe the chance has passed him by now, because we're now talking about younger players who can play central midfield coming into the squad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't argue with that, mate. Yeah, I think the competition is so strong in that position. I mean, midfield itself. I mean, the problem for me is I see Morsey, but I don't see who out of all them the midfielders we've got, I don't see who else owns that position.
I agree.
And
do you think, Jordan, the issue we've got here, we've got a lot of players, but not a lot of standout quality. You know, you've got Raheem Harper, Idris, Humphreys, who's coming through, young player, yes. yeah, but Evans even, but nobody's really making a case to stand out and be a first team player. You've got a number of depth options, but no first teamer.
Wouldn't you agree that that's the same as most of our attacking options though as well? Like, you know, I mean, apart from you know, I mean, obviously Burns has been our top goal scorer, and he's pretty much classed as a defender, isn't he? You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think we've got some brilliant attackers, but like for example, Chaplin and Selena, two of my favourite players. But when they play together, it's like Gerrard and Lampard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? They just can't seem to gel. I don't know what it is. Maybe they just need to go out for a drink together. Maybe.
Well, there you go. But you're right. I've said that myself, Jordan, through the course of last season. I don't see them two sort of playing well. Obviously, they took Barry Fry this week. Said Jack Taylor worth 10 million. I don't know how true that is, but you know, Barry Fry, bless him. He's always up to the selling a player. Lee Anderson, there's a player in Harbour. I'm not sure anyone knows what that player is. Well, it's player of the year when we find it, Lee. I can assure you of that. Right, well, we'll leave it there, gentlemen. An hour and 10 minutes in the middle of May is pretty bloody good going. We'll roll over some questions and content to next Monday.
I just want to say, can I just add in on that the Harper and El Mazzoni?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
And the Humphreys, because it's very. This is a really important time to have this conversation because it's now where their future is going to be decided. For me, although I acknowledge you have to have a strengthening depth, of course, we need to be looking at those players that are going to be playing, you hope, 46 games a season. If our team was a meal, we're just talking about the appetizers. I don't want to worry about lots of different appetizers that I satiate my hunger for. I want a main fucking meal striker, someone who's going to come in there and I pay the money for, and it's going to fill me up and do what I need to. We're just bitching over the hors d'oeuvres here. Bin them all off. Go to your main meal.
It's true. It's true. No, it's true. It's true. It's true. Jordan, appreciate you coming on. Come back to us, right?
Absolutely, definitely. Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
You know where we are, man. Monday, Wednesday, Sundays. You're always welcome. All right.
Thank you very much. See you again soon, man.
Yeah, look after yourself, Lewis. You got through a show. At one point, I was worried you weren't going to be getting through it with us.
Yeah, don't know what happened there. I think dodgy link, but no idea.
You had a bad first 5-10 minutes of a league start, but you rallied. You came to the storm.
Yeah. And, magic's great.
And with the assistance of your experienced counterpart there as well.
Carried me through it.
Yeah, he was talking to you when he all through that bit. You know, he was just like a good partner. Do this. He calmed you down.
I'm a Denatsi to your Burns. That's what I am. I'm right back in there supporting you. Do your thing.
I haven't got the hair to be Wes Burns. I'm afraid.
I won't have in 5 years. Don't worry.
I didn't want to say anything, Lewis, but yeah, no, me neither. I mean, we're all going that way. Let's be brutally honest. Right, we're back on Sunday for Talking Town, normal time, 1:30. Then of course back next Monday and Wednesday. But I've really enjoyed tonight's show. Really enjoyed it. So we've got KVY we're going to be keeping. Idris we feel should be loaned or let go of. He's not quite going to be good enough. And we're happy with KJ and Wolfie. And Mike D says, can we have more of the Robo rap? Well, I am doing some new intros for the new season next year. So maybe the Robo rap is the way to go. But don't forget, Ko-Fi and YouTube memberships available. Please do support the platform. Truly, that does help. You won't know how much. So please do consider it. But until next time, Ben, we love you. Thank you for coming back to us. And Lewis, thank you for staying with us.
Good night.
Have a great week. Yeah, great show.
Cheers,
and we'll be back. We're back next Sunday or this Sunday coming. With love, with care. See you later.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to the